Good morning, fifth grade. Hopefully, everybody had a great night, and I hope you're ready to finish up the last lesson of the year. We're going to be dealing with two-step integers. So let's see where the notes are at. Now, I had you print out the uncompleted notes, the blank version of the notes. So that will help you as you write stuff down to see how things work. So let's see where the notes are at. Go over here into our Google Classroom. Get over here into your classwork, scroll down here to the integers, click on that. And as you see here, I have two sets of notes. I have the two-step equation notes. These are the blank ones. And then I have right down here the two-step equation completed notes. Okay. So hopefully you have your blank notes up and you'll follow along. I'm going to work from the completed notes. So a couple of things you need to understand before we move on to the two-step equations here. When we were dealing with PEMDAS, okay, we were going with the parentheses, the equations. Then we'd go into our multiplication and division. After the multiplication and division, then we would go to our addition and subtraction. When we're dealing with two-step equations, we're going backwards, okay? And what I mean by that is this. We need to start with our addition and our subtraction first. We must complete all of that first, okay? What we're going to move to the other side. Are we going to add to the other side? We're going to subtract the other side. We must do that first. Then once we get everything cleared, then we're going to work off our multiplication and our division. Okay, we will go from there. Okay, and so follow along and you'll see what I mean by all this. Okay, so if we take a look here, we have 4h plus 6 equals 30. Now, the way that I like to talk about this is a relationship. Okay, if we always said our goal is to get the variable all by itself. Well, this variable h, it has a boyfriend or a girlfriend, okay, which is the 4, and it has a friend, okay. Remember, the variable does not enjoy people at all. So guess what? This variable is tired of the boyfriend or girlfriend, and it's tired of the friend. But the first thing it always wants to get rid of first is the friend. The friend has to go first, and that's what we mean by the addition and subtraction. We must do the addition and subtraction first before we deal with the multiplication or the division. So what do I mean by that? Well, we're going to get rid of this plus 6, okay? Opposite of adding 6 is subtracting 6. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this 6 and we're going to subtract 6 on both sides. So I subtract 6 on the left, subtract 6 on the right, because what I do to one side, I must do the other side. So as you know, it is a neat freak, okay? So as you can see here, the plus 6 minus 6, it cancels out, and I'm left with 4h equals 30 minus 6. Okay, let's clean some things up some more. So 30 minus 6 is 24, so we get 4h equals 24. Now, it's tired of its girlfriend or boyfriend. Okay. It says 4, I'm tired of you. I'm sick of you. You got to go. So what's happening between the 4 and the 8 now? It's being multiplied. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And as you know, 4 over 4 is equal to 1. And all that I'm left with here is the h. So we clean up our garbage. We're left with h equals 24 over 4. And then finally we get h equals 6. So if you want to check that, take this 6, put it all the way in where the h is. So 4 times 6 is 24. 24 plus 6 is 30. So yes, they are correct. Okay, let's look over here at number 2 here. Let me move my picture over here a little bit, make it easier for you to see. Okay, so here I have 2/7y plus 5 equals negative 9. Okay, once again, we got the boyfriend, girlfriend here of 2/7 because it's attached to the y. And then we got our plus 5, the friend. What do we say? Friends go first, out the door. So we got to get rid of this plus 5. Opposite of plus 5, minus 5. So what am I going to do to both sides? Correct. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. So subtract it from the left, subtract it from the right. Now, as you can see here, this plus 5 minus 5, they cancel. Okay, they cancel. So we have, as you know, y is a neat freak. It has to clean up its garbage. So I'm left with 2/7 y equals -9 minus 5. Solve this over here. -9 plus 5 is -14. So I have 2/7 y equals -14. Now, the boyfriend or girlfriend, the 2/7, has got to go. Annoying as can be, got to go. Bye-bye. Kick him or her to the curb. So now, how am I going to get this to 1? Because remember, we have to get this to 1. Well, the easiest way to get this to 1 is to multiply by the reciprocal. We got to multiply by the reciprocal there. So the reciprocal of 2/7 is 7/2. So 7/2 times 2/7 is 14/14, which guess what that equals? 1. Okay, so if I multiply by 7/2 here, I must multiply by 7/2 here. So I'm left with y equals, do not lose your negative sign, -14/1. I just did that to make our lives easier. -14/1 times 7/2. Now, if you wanted to, you could just multiply across and you will get -98/2, which equals -49. Or you could also cross reduce. You can say, hey, 2 is divisible by 2, so that gives me a 1. 2 is divisible by -14, or -14 is divisible by a 2, I should say, which gives you -7 here. Okay, and -7 times 7 is -14. Whichever way you'd like to do that is perfectly fine. Okay, let's continue on down here to the next two. Okay, as you see here, we have -3t plus 6 equals 0. Okay, so first thing we got to do, friends got to go over. So that's a plus 6. The opposite of plus 6 is -6. So I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides. So subtract 6 on the left, subtract 6 on the right. So it gives me -3t plus 6 minus 6 equals 0 minus 6. Clean up your garbage because you know these cancel out. Okay, so you're left with -3t equals 0 minus 6. Okay, we can solve 0 minus 6 is -6. So I have -3t equals -6. Now, what's happening between the -3 and the t? It's being multiplied. Opposite of multiplication is division. Okay, so what you have to remember here, this is a common mistake. You must divide by -3. We got to get rid of this negative here. We need to get this as a 1t. So the only way to get it as a 1t is divide by -3 on both sides. So -3 over -3 is +1. So we're just left with a t. T equals -6 over -3. Do not lose your negatives. And as you know, these two negatives cancel out and become a positive. And 6 divided by 3 is 2. So t equals 2. If you need to, plug it in, check it out. You get -3 times 2 is -6. -6 plus 6 is 0. Okay, let's look here at number 4. Let's see what we have here with number 4. We got -8 plus 8g equals 56. Okay, so friend has to go first. The -8 has to get to the other side. So the opposite of -8 is +8. So we're going to add 8 to both sides of this equation here. So now, as we know, these cancel out. Clean up our garbage. We get 8g equals 56 plus 8. And we know that 56 plus 8 is 64. So right now we have 8g equals 64. So we got to get the g all by itself. So which means 8 is being multiplied by g. So we have to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8. Divide both sides by 8. So these 8s cancel out and become 1. So I get g equals 64 over 8. G equals 8. Very good, guys. Very, very good. Okay, last two here. And actually, I'm going to show you a third one after we're done with this one here. Let's scroll down here. Okay, here we go here. Let's take a look at this one here. We have 5k minus 7 equals negative 7. Once again, friend has to go first. So this is where we start with our negative 7. Opposite of negative 7 or minus 7 is plus 7. So I am going to add 7 to both sides. Add 7 here, add 7 here. So these cancel out. Negative 7 plus 7 is 0. They cancel out. And I'm left with 5k equals negative 7 plus 7. Negative 7 plus 7 is 0. Okay, so far we're good to go. So now I can see 5 times k, opposite of multiplication, is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5. So these 5s become a 1, and you get k equals 0 over 5, and 0 over 5 is just 0. Okay, guys, let's look at this one here. Scroll this down here a little bit. There we go here. Let's take a look at this one here. So we have 19 plus 7x equals 32. Okay, this is a positive 19. You've got to get it to the other side. So we're going to subtract 19 on both sides. Subtract 19 here, subtract 19 here. So as we do that, we know that 19 minus 19 is 0. These cancel out. So what am I left with? Clean up your garbage. 13x equals 32 minus 19. 32 minus 19 is 13. So right now I have 13x equals 13. I have to divide both sides by 13 because 13 is being multiplied by x. So you get 13x over 13 equals 13 over 13. We know these 13 over 13s become 1. So I have my x here. X equals 13 over 13. X equals 1. So my answer is 1. Okay, turn your notes over. Let's try one more. I want to show you here. What if I had x over 4 plus 8 equals 2? Okay, and we got to figure out what that answer is going to be. Now, remember what we said. We have to start with this addition and subtraction first. So we have our addition, plus 8. Opposite of plus 8 is minus 8. So we got x over 4 plus 8 minus 8 equals 2 minus 8. Okay, we know this plus 8 minus 8, they cancel. Okay, and now we're left with x over 4 equals 2 minus 8. Okay, and we know that 2 minus 8 is going to be negative 6. So I have x over 4 equals negative 6. Okay, so far, oh, that's a terrible negative 6. Let me redo that one. There we go here. That's better here. Okay, now remember, what is happening here between the x and the 4? It's being divided. What's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. So that gives me 4x over 4 equals negative 6 times 4. That's parentheses there. Okay, and you know these cancel out. And you know x is going to equal negative 24. Okay, there you go there. And if you were to try this, you'd say, okay, negative 24 divided by 4 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 8, does that equal 2? And yes, it does. 2 equals 2. And yes, this is correct. Other than that, today, guys, that's our last lesson, video lesson of the year. We are done. We're going to get started on reviewing, get ready for a short test here next week. I promise I will not make it difficult. It'll be your last one. If you have any questions or concerns, please rewatch this video. If you're still confused, please shoot me an email. Other than that, guys, I want you to have a great day. Enjoy yourself and talk to you later. Bye-bye.